The night Sammy and Dean Martin fought backstage, what Frank Sinatra did ended it instantly. If you enjoy listening to the real stories behind legendary moments like this, stories rarely told but quietly shaping history, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps preserve these memories and pass them on to future generations. The Sands Hotel, Las Vegas, February 4, 1962. 11:52 p.m. The Rat Pack had just finished the biggest show of the season. The audience was still on their feet. Frank, Dean, and Sammy had killed it. Perfect timing. Perfect chemistry. The kind of performance that made Vegas magic. But backstage, in the narrow corridor between the dressing rooms, something was about to happen that no one saw coming. Something that would threaten to destroy the Rat Pack forever. Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin, best friends, brothers, were about to throw punches at each other. Real punches. Not stage fighting. Not comedy bits. Genuine, rage-filled violence. And the only person who could stop it was Frank Sinatra. But what Frank did in the next 30 seconds, what he said, what he didn't say, became the stuff of legend. The moment that defined what the Rat Pack really meant. The moment that proved leadership isn't about being the toughest guy in the room. It's about understanding exactly what everyone needs to hear. This is the untold story of the night the Rat Pack almost died. The night two brothers almost destroyed each other. And the night Frank Sinatra proved why he was, and always would be, the chairman of the board. Let's rewind. Let's go back 14 hours. Because what happened in that corridor didn't start with anger. It started with exhaustion, with pressure, with two men who'd been pushed too far for too long. February 4, 1962, 9:30 a.m., Sammy Davis Jr. woke up in his suite at the Sands with a splitting headache and a schedule that would kill most people. He had a recording session at Capitol Records at 11 a.m. a meeting with his business manager about his mounting debt at 2 p.m. a costume fitting for his upcoming Broadway show at 4 p.m. And then, at 10 p.m., the Rat Pack show. 2 hours of improvisation, singing, dancing, and making it look effortless. He looked at himself in the mirror. 40 years old. One glass eye. Dark circles under the good one. His body aching from years of dancing. His voice raspy from too many cigarettes and not enough sleep. But Sammy Davis Jr. didn't complain. Sammy Davis Jr. showed up. Always. That same morning, Dean Martin woke up in his suite feeling something he rarely felt. Resentment. Dean was tired. Not physically. Emotionally. For years he'd played the drunk. The lovable buffoon. The guy who stumbled through songs with a rocks glass in his hand, pretending to be drunker than he was. It was an act. A brilliant act. Dean Martin was one of the smartest, most calculated performers in show business. But lately, the act was wearing on him. Because while Frank got to be the leader, the serious one, the legend, and Sammy got to be the virtuoso, the underdog, the inspiration, Dean was stuck being the comic relief, the drunk, the fool, and he was tired of it. At 6 p.m., both men arrived at the Sands for pre-show preparation. They ran into each other in the hallway, exchanged the usual greetings. "Hey, Smokey," Dean said, using his nickname for Sammy. "Dino," Sammy replied. "You ready for tonight?" "Always ready, Pally." But there was something in Dean's voice. Something off. Sammy noticed it, but didn't press. Everyone had bad days. At 7:30 p.m., the three of them met for a quick run-through with the band. Frank Sinatra was in good spirits, cracking jokes. The show was sold out. 2,000 people. All the big Vegas players. This was a big night. "All right, guys," Frank said. "Let's keep it loose. Follow the set list for the first half, then we improvise. Sammy, you good with the medley?" "Born ready, Francis." "Dean, you're doing That's Amore in the second half, right?" Dean nodded. But he didn't smile. Frank noticed. "You okay, Pally?" "I'm fine." "You sure? You seem—" "I said I'm fine, Frank." An awkward pause. Frank looked at Sammy. Sammy shrugged. They'd seen Dean in moods before. He'd snap out of it. At 10 p.m. the curtain opened, The Rat Pack walked on stage to thunderous applause, and for the first hour, everything was perfect. They sang, they joked, they riffed off each other like only they could. But then, during a bit where Sammy was doing impressions, something shifted. Sammy was in the middle of his Jimmy Cagney impression when Dean, who was supposed to be playing along, interrupted. "You know what, Sam? You do the same impressions every night. Cagney, Bogart, Robinson, don't you have any new material?" The audience laughed. They thought it was part of the act. But Sammy heard something in Dean's voice, something sharp, something mean. Sammy forced a smile. "Well, Dino, if you want new material, maybe you should stop doing the drunk bit. That's getting a little old too." More laughter. But now, it was tense. Frank, standing off to the side, sensed it immediately. All right, Frank stepped in. "Let's not fight, children. Save it for after the show." More laughter. Crisis averted. Or so they thought. The show continued. But the energy was off. Dean was drinking more than usual. Real drinking, not stage drinking. His jokes were getting meaner. His timing was off. During Me and My Shadow, a song where Sammy and Frank performed together, Dean was supposed to join in for the final chorus. Instead, he walked off stage. Just walked off. Left them standing there. The audience didn't notice. They were too focused on Frank and Sammy. But backstage, everyone noticed. At 11:50 p.m., they took their final bow. The applause was huge. But the moment they walked off stage, the facade dropped. Dean headed straight for his dressing room. Sammy followed him. "Dean, what the hell was that?" Dean spun around. What was what? "You walking off stage in the middle of the song? You making those comments? What's going on?" "Nothing's going on, Sam. Maybe I'm just tired of being the third wheel." "Third wheel? Dean, we're the Rat Pack. There's no third wheel." "No?" Dean's voice was rising now. "Frank's the star. You're the talent. And I'm the drunk who stumbles around making you both look good." "That's not true." "It is true. You know what people say about me? Oh, Dean Martin, he's funny, he's charming. But he's not as good as Frank, not as talented as Sammy. I'm the guy people tolerate because you two let me hang around." "Dean, that's insane. You're one of the biggest stars in the world." "In the world, yeah. But in this trio, I'm the comedy relief. I'm the drunk. And I'm sick of it." Sammy felt his own anger rising. "You think you're the only one with problems? You think you're the only one who feels like he's not being taken seriously? Dean, I have to be twice as good as everyone else every single night just to prove I belong on the same stage as you. And you're complaining about being the comic relief? That's different." "How is it different? You chose to play the drunk. That's your character. But me? I don't get to choose. I'm black. That's my character, whether I like it or not." Dean's face flushed red. "Don't make this about race, Sam." "Everything is about race for me, Dean. Every single thing. You get to be whoever you want. I have to be perfect every second of every day, or I'm not just letting myself down, I'm letting down every black performer who'll come after me." They were shouting now, face to face in the narrow backstage corridor. "You want to talk about pressure?" Dean shouted back. "Try being the son of an Italian immigrant who grew up in Steubenville, Ohio, working in a steel mill. Try having everyone expect you to be a gangster or a laborer. Try building yourself from nothing." "From nothing?" "Dean, your skin color doesn't get you denied entry to the hotels where you perform. Your skin color doesn't get you death threats. Your skin color doesn't make half the country think you shouldn't even be on that stage. And your talent doesn't make you invisible. You're Sammy Davis Jr. Everyone sees you. Everyone talks about you. But me? I'm just the drunk guy who stands next to Frank Sinatra." And then Dean said the words that crossed the line. "You know what? Maybe you should be grateful people even let you on that stage. Maybe you should be grateful we let you in the Rat Pack." Sammy went silent. His whole body tensed. His real eye narrowed to a point of rage. "What did you just say?" Dean realized his mistake immediately. "Sam, I didn't mean—" "You let me in the Rat Pack? You let me?" That came out wrong. No, Dean, that came out exactly right. That's what you really think. That you and Frank are doing me a favor. That I should be grateful you allow me to stand on the same stage as you. Sam. Sammy threw a punch. It wasn't a stage punch. It wasn't a fake swing. It was a real, anger-fueled right hook that connected with Dean's jaw. Dean stumbled back, shocked. Then his own rage took over. He lunged at Sammy. They crashed into the wall, arms swinging. Not trained fighters, just two exhausted, angry men who'd finally snapped. The stage crew rushed over, tried to pull them apart. But Sammy and Dean were locked together, grappling, shouting, years of resentment and exhaustion pouring out in violence. And then a voice cut through everything. Enough! Everyone froze. Frank Sinatra stood at the end of the corridor. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't screaming, but his voice had that quality. That chairman of the board quality that made you stop whatever you were doing and listen. Both of you, in my dressing room, now. Sammy and Dean separated, both breathing hard, both bleeding. Sammy's knuckles were split, Dean's lip was bleeding. The stage crew backed away. They followed Frank into his dressing room. Frank closed the door, locked it, turned to face them, and then he did something neither of them expected. He sat down, poured himself a drink, took a sip, didn't say anything. The silence was unbearable. Finally, Sammy spoke. Francis. Frank held up a hand. I'm going to talk. You're going to listen. Both of you. He took another sip, set the glass down, looked at Dean. Dino, you think you're the drunk, the comic relief. You think people don't take you seriously. Dean nodded. You're right. Dean's face fell. But you know whose fault that is? Yours. You decided to play that character. You decided to make people think you're dumber than you are. And you did it so well that now you're mad they believe it. That's on you. Frank turned to Sammy. Sam, you think you have to be perfect every second. You think you're carrying the weight of your entire race on your shoulders every time you step on stage. Sammy nodded. You're right. Sammy blinked, surprised. You do have to be perfect. It's not fair. It's not right. But it's true. And you know what else is true? You're handling it. Every single night, you're handling it. And we see it. I see it. Dean sees it. Everyone sees it. Frank stood up, walked between them. But here's what you both forgot. Here's what you both lost sight of. The Rat Pack isn't about who's the star, who's the talent, who's the comic. It's about three guys who need each other. He pointed at Dean. You need Sam, because his talent makes you better. You need me because my reputation opens doors. He pointed at Sammy. You need Dean because his humor takes the pressure off. You need me because I fight the battles you can't fight. He pointed at himself. And I need both of you because without you, I'm just another singer. With you, I'm part of something bigger. He walked back to his chair, sat down. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to each other. Not because I'm making you, but because you both said things you didn't mean. And then we're going to finish this residency. And then we're going to go home. And then we're going to remember why we started doing this in the first place. Silence. Then Dean spoke, his voice cracking. Sam, I didn't mean what I said about letting you in the Rat Pack. That was the stupidest, most hurtful thing I've ever said. You're not here because we let you. You're here because we need you. Sammy's eyes welled up. I'm sorry I hit you, Dino. I'm sorry I made it seem like your problems don't matter. They do. You matter. Dean nodded. Walked over, they hugged. A real hug. Two brothers who'd hurt each other and forgiven each other. Frank smiled. Not his stage smile. A real smile. All right. Now get cleaned up. We've got another show tomorrow night. As they walked out, Frank called after them. And boys, Next time you want to fight, do it on stage where people pay to watch it." They laughed. Real laughter. The kind that comes from relief. The story of the fight stayed quiet for years. Neither Sammy nor Dean talked about it publicly. But in 1984, 2 years before Dean's son's death, which would devastate him, Dean gave an interview where he was asked about his relationship with Sammy. "Sam and I fought once. Really fought. And Frank stopped it. You want to know how? How? He reminded us that none of us are here alone. That we need each other. And that being part of something matters more than being the star of something." Years later, after Sammy died in 1990, Frank was asked what made the Rat Pack work. "We fought like brothers, we loved like brothers. And we needed each other like brothers, that's all." That's the untold legacy. Not the glamour, not the shows, not the fame. But 3 men who understood that being great together was better than being perfect alone. The night Sammy and Dean fought backstage could have destroyed the Rat Pack. Instead, it made them stronger. Because Frank Sinatra understood something that night. Something profound. You don't stop fights by choosing sides. You stop them by reminding people why they're on the same side in the first place. That's leadership. That's brotherhood. That's the Rat Pack.